Last week on the Global Rescuers, we saw some inmates get the privilege of working with and training wild horses, preparing the horses and the men for life outside the barbed wire. This week, we find out what happens after they get out of prison. I was on your Facebook page for the Streets Don't, what's the name of the organization?
Streets Don't Love You Back.
Streets Don't Love You Back. Yeah, they don't, do they?
Not at all, ma'am.
So I read a little bit about your story, but I want you to share with the audience what happened and how you got from a 9-year-old boy to where you are right now.
Well, at 9 years old, I witnessed my stepfather get murdered by my grandfather, which is my mother's father. And, my mother could have went either way, you know what I mean? She could have been a woman who lost her mind or whatever, but God kept her strong, and I'm the one who ended up in the streets, at a very young age. At 10 years old, I got robbed by another gang member, and I ran back home. A lot of guys used to hang out in front of my mother's house. It was a gang-infested neighborhood, and the homeboys took me back, and I thought I was just going to get my coat back, but they gave me a big pistol and said, you got to pistol whip that guy. So that's when my life of crime started in gangs and selling drugs and different things.
Okay, well, what I don't understand is you say you had a strong mom.
Yes.
And usually people, now I could be wrong, but I thought that they go into the street because they don't have any love. You had love.
Oh, yeah.
So did you turn your back on it?
No, what happened with me was I was an angry kid. You know what I mean? Love was always in my house from the time I was born. But when that murder happened at 9 years old, I became a very angry kid, rebellious and all of that, And that's what took my life in the wrong area. But I thank God that through the years, I learned how to start gravitating to what my mother had been preaching to me all along. Get your head right, get your attitude right. You can't always be angry, son. Anger, that causes other things. So, yeah, my mother always coached me through my life too, but I was a lot of rebellions going on through the years.
So for the youth that is out there now, that they're running the streets, give me an idea of what they go through. Because that was then, and we're here today. So we're in Maricopa, which I didn't know some of the neighborhoods are drug infested. I had no idea. It's sad to learn because this is my backyard. So what can you share with me about what's going on in the streets today? And are there gangs here in Maricopa?
What I can do, as far as educate our youth and others to a better life, and the more I learn about what's in Maricopa, the more I'm able to help. But coming from the gang culture like I did in Detroit, it's a whole different ball game,
that is.
I come from where it's really go down at, where you robbing, you stealing, you seeing women on the corner getting pimped out all day long, drugs all day long being sold. I come from that environment.
And also you're an author.
Yes, ma'am. I'm the author of 2 books.
And tell me I'm so mind boggled by this whole thing. You're a gang member, but you're an author. You were running the streets, but now you're saved. So what made you want to start writing, and at what age, so maybe you can inspire somebody else?
Well, to be honest with you, my real father was a book writer. My real father is the author of 66 books around the world. He was internationally known. He had his own broadcast for 42 years on radio and TV. And it was just always in me as a kid. But in 2008, I called my mother up and asked her, would she have a problem with me writing my autobiography? Because people kept telling me, oh man, your story will help people. So what had happened was in 2009, I met my wonderful wife.
And how did you meet your husband?
It's a funny story. We actually met online back in the day of MySpace.
Okay.
And he was promoting a song, and we became friends. And he eventually got my number, and we started calling and talking, and just became really good friends. And then he told me about his book, and he was working on it, and it was messed up. And I said, you know what, just send it to me. And he did, and I read it, and I said, with your story and my story and all the things that we've gone through, we need to put this together. But I told him there's so much more you need to add into your book. Let me edit it for you, let me redo it, and let's get the message out there that the streets don't love you back.
She started editing my book because my book had got messed up. So she started editing the Streets Don't Love You Back book, and me and her started the Streets Don't Love You Back organization together. And it's what you see 6 years later, me and her. did our thing for us, wanting to do something to help kids and to help people. You know, my real passion is music. You know, I've been into music for 30 years, you know, I love that. But I also wanted to have something that could help people. And me and my wife built this nonprofit organization from the ground up from my book, the first one, The Streets Don't Love You Back.
And the second book is called what?
Never Hit a Woman. Me and my wife is, we very passionate about domestic violence.
Thank you.
And the titles say Never Hit a Woman, but the book is to educate men, women, and kids, you know what I mean? Not to hurt each other and not to kill each other and not to have that bad blood, you know what I'm saying?
So don't hit people, don't hit animals, don't hit.
Nothing.
Just don't hit.
Right.
You know, you don't have to be in a gang, you don't have to sell drugs. Stop the violence, stop the abuse, and let's go out and educate the youth against all that and educate them that there's a better way. Education is the key,
And it certainly is. And you guys were just holding a class at the Maricopa Courthouse
yes,
for the youth.
yes.
And there are some people that have graduated from your class, some that are still in it. And I believe we're going to talk to some of those,
Exactly.
right?
Yes.
So I think they're over here. Or you're in the class right now.
I'm actually currently in the class.
Streets Don't Love You Back. And so tell me your story.
I was watching Rob and Lucinda's Boyd whole movement for like a year because, like I say, I make music. I'm a producer. I do a lot of editing. I do a lot of things. Engineer. I do a lot of things. So I watched this movement for like a whole year. And I actually went into his inbox and I told him, look, man, I like what you're doing. I like what you and your wife doing. If you need anything, like I do a lot of things. Like I don't tell people I do a lot of things, but like I told him, like I do a lot of things, bro. If you need any type of assistance, just get with me, you know what I mean? So he ended up reaching out to me probably like 2 weeks later. He's like, you know what, I actually need some commercials. So I did like 3 commercials for him and an intro to his mixtape. And we ended up talking after that, and he was like, yo, man, like, I really like what you did. You brought tears to my eyes. Like, it was real touching. And so from that point on, we've been rolling ever since.
When I first started doing community service with The Streets Don't Love You Back, I didn't have to do it. It wasn't something that I had to do. It was just something that I was doing because I was already trying to change my life. I made a choice myself. You know, I was going through some trouble. I'm on probation right now for a drug case. You know, I was in selling drugs, doing drugs, things like that. And at some point, I just felt like I wanted to do something different, be around different people. And I started doing radio, doing some radio work. And one of my first interviews was with the real Rick Ross. And that's when I met Rob Boyd, who was the orchestrator of the event. And when I met him, I got a little background information on him, and it was like, I could relate to his story so much. I mean, I was never a big time kingpin on the level that he was on, but I was in the streets, and then I was into like doing the publishing with the music and doing film and stuff like that. And he just, you know, took the hustle from the streets and then put it into, you know, entertainment.
I had a little situation that I got involved in that didn't work out in my favor too much, you know what I mean? And once I got situated, well, actually, once I started, like I said, I've been dealing with Rob for like the last year, so once I started explaining to him about my situation, he was like, you know what? I'm gonna try to help you get out of that, you know what I mean? But you have to abide by a few things that I need you to do. You need to come to the program. You gotta be supportive, you gotta do this, you gotta do charity events and things of that nature. So I was like, okay, cool. So
now that we're being real, I mean, tell me, what do you really think about the program? What are you thinking about where you're at right now? Do you appreciate this? Do you think it's a good thing?
Well, you know what? What I really appreciate, like Rob is somebody that I can call at 1 in the morning. Like if I'm having a situation and I need to be talked down or toned down, somebody to give me some extra encouragement. You know, Rob he's been that supporting cast for me. You understand what I'm saying? So like, yeah, it goes further than the program. You know what I mean? So I'm involved with the program because this is what I need to do as far as my situation. And he helps me out. Like, he even said that he would go to the court with me and talk to the judge. You know, it's more of a big brother thing for me.
I lost a lot of friends. I got a lot of friends incarcerated. I got some friends that are, you know, that are dead now, including my brother. I lost family members in the streets, you know, and one of the big things that made it easy for me too is my mama got cancer, And my stepdad wasn't in a position to take care of her, and he was on drugs, and he was a crack addict. So I sent him back home to Ohio, and I moved her into my home, and I got married at the time, and that's when I really started changing, and then putting more time and effort into my children.
So you do have kids. And
I do have kids. I do have kids.
I think I see one.
There's one of my boys right here. This is Nathan.
Oh, Nathan, you're
Yep.
handsome.
First and foremost, I would tell you to build a relationship with God, because God is the ultimate. You know what I mean? Like we all know that God is the ultimate being. So you got to build a relationship with God. That's most important. And stay with family. People that love you, people that care about you. You know what I'm saying? So it's important to create situations where you're involved with people that really love you. You understand what I'm saying? Because if you don't, then I don't know what to say.
When you have a choice to be anything you can be, what is it going to be for you? This is Kimberly reminding you, the Global Rescuers isn't just a show, it is a movement. Come on board, and we'll see you next time.
Am I shining?
You're good.
Make sure I ain't shining.
As soon as we get funded, we'll bring our makeup person
Do I
with us.
look cute or what?
Handsome. He is handsome.